Would you think a CJ Stroud figure would do well on another team? Would your mind change if he was Dabo Swinney's quarterback, Gene?
CJ Stroud will eventually get it, and I think with the wide receiving room he has and the offensive line he has,
very reminiscent of last year, how he came out slow, and I totally agree with you, Ryan Day. And I think people are starting to see what I was saying like 2 years ago when I was like, Ryan Day is an overrated coach. Mm-hmm. He got handed the keys to a Cadillac, and say what you want about Urban Meyer, like that. All of his teams are always recruited well and ready to go. He was a great college coach, but when you give the keys to a Cadillac of all the guys that Urban Meyer recruited, of course you're going to do well. Like it is what it is. I could go in there and coach that team if I really wanted to, but now people are starting to see, when all them guys are going now, let's see how good Ryan Day can do. And as soon as Jackson Smith and Jigba went down, it was like, I mean, I was at Disney like, why is this game close? Dang, Notre Dame took the lead. Like, that's what I was saying to Heather. I was like, oh my God, what is going on, bro? This ain't right. This is not what we thought Ohio State was going to do. We thought that they were going to wreck them completely. And watching the tape back, yesterday, I was like, wow, CJ Stroud didn't look great, but the play calling looked worse. Travion Henderson is supposed to be my number one running back, and in a lot of people's minds, the best running back in the country. He was not really a factor either. But then again, it's that cat and mouse fight of, was it a bad game plan, or did players not really play up to their potential in Ohio State, or what was it? Or was Notre Dame's, are we not giving enough credit to Notre Dame's defense for playing? They played lights out to keep Ohio State, who was, they were averaging like 45 points a game last year, to keep them down to 21?
At a minimum, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was a mixture of everything. I think that Marcus Freeman's defense looked really good. I think C.J. Stroud missed a lot of passes. And if you watch that game back, C.J. Stroud missed a lot of passes. I've been very clear on this, and I might be in a minority, but I think Bryce Young is light years ahead of CJ Stroud as far as NFL prospect, as far as college quarterback. I think he's light years ahead of CJ Stroud. I see a softness in CJ Stroud when big games happen. I go back to the Oregon game. He looked terrible there. I go back to the Michigan game first for 2.5 quarters. He looked terrible there. Every time this kid's in a big game, I feel like he's just small. And this was another big game, but I think that the big key for Ohio State, and the reason I had them in my national championship, is the fact that they added Jim Knowles. That defense looks so good. To have that talent, he did all that with the Oklahoma State team last year. It didn't have many 4 or 5-star kids. They had very, very light talented as a talent group for Oklahoma State. Imagine giving him all those 4 or 5-star kids at Ohio State. Oh man, that defense is just going to look better and better all year.
So let's play devil's advocate here with CJ Stroud, because I think he's the best I think he hasn't reached his ceiling, and still after watching that game, I was like, I see the missed passes and everything like that, but I don't see great coaching out of Ryan Day. Not as far as play calling, but great coaching to give him the confidence that he needs. Like, I say what we want about Dabo Swinney. Say what you want about Jimbo Fisher. Say what you want about Nick Saban. Those guys are always quarterback first. Like, look at me. What is going on? What do you need? What are we doing wrong? How can we help you? It's always that. They have a really good relationship, and I feel like he's not like that even with Justin Fields was there. Prime example. Not last year, but the year before, when they were in when Ohio State was playing Clemson. And they finally won against them, and Justin Fields is still going through the same injury that he had, getting hit in the ribs by the same guy that happened the year before, and he's going out there playing his tail off. I didn't see Ryan Day at all in that game saying, good job, patting him on the shoulder pads. It's like, all right, pick up the briefcase and go back out there and and throw that pass again. Like,
Pretty
sacrifice.
much, yeah.
It's just so weird to me. Every time I see Ryan, I just don't think you have to have some type of like player mentality when you're a coach. That's why the Pete Carrolls of the world and those kind of guys are so like well sought after now. The John Harbaughs and Mike Tomlins, like those are the great coaches. So how would you think a CJ Stroud figure would do well on another team? Would your mind change if he was Dabo Swinney's quarterback, Gene?
Probably not. I as much as I respect everything that you said, and I do, but the best coach in college football and the best coach in the professionals are both non-players coaches, in Saban and Belichick. And I understand the Dabos of the world. I understand the Jimbos of the world, but there's different ways to skin a cat. There's a lot of different ways to run it. And I think that what Ryan Day gives his quarterbacks, in my opinion, is a toughness. If you give them tough love, you preparing them for the next level. There's parents that are loving parents, and there's parents that are just give a lot of tough love. And what I seen in Justin Fields at Ryan Day versus what I see with CJ Stroud and Ryan Day is totally different. With Justin Fields, I seen a warrior. I seen a guy that was taking hit after hit and throwing the ball dimes. That game versus Clemson was one of the most impressive college football games I've seen from a quarterback ever.
I agree.
But what I see from CJ Stroud is constant him just disappointing in big games. Like the coaching doesn't matter or isn't that big of a deal when he's blowing out Wisconsin, when he's destroying Minnesota. But it matters when he's going up against big games versus Michigan, versus Oregon, and now versus Notre Dame.
Yeah, and that's a great point, because not Justin Fields last year, but the year before, when it was a tough race between him, Jalen Hurts. Who was the other quarterback that year? The quarterback that won it. It was Trevor Lawrence, and there was one more. Why am I drawing a blank right now?
You're not talking about the Tua year, are you?
Tua, yeah, and Tua was there. That's who won it that year. But Justin Fields would have won that trophy. He would have won the Heisman if Ryan Day didn't keep taking that team out at halftime. But they were blowing teams out. They were blowing teams out too.
100%.
I mean, that's the reason why he was taking them out. But that's a great point that you made, though, against the Wisconsin. Yeah, I mean, if you're beating Wisconsin by 45-7 going into halftime, of course you're going to take Justin Fields out, because what matters is we're getting to the college football playoff. We already know that we are, so we need you for that game. And yeah, Justin Fields was on another level. I don't know, sir, if you got any other final thoughts on this one, so we can move on to your boy.
Not my only thoughts is going back to the devil's advocate, talking about how if CJ Stroud would look better with a different coach. My only question to you, Gene, because I think Dante and I agree with this, would you say Ohio State is more ran by the players or by Ryan Day?
Ryan Day.
Okay. Personally, I feel like you have all the talent with the players. It's kind of like, not, all right, just go out and scheme whatever you want to scheme, but it's kind of like, I feel like the players are more, personally, I just feel like the players are more responsible for their success than Ryan Day actually is. So, I mean, I kind of would have to agree. I feel like CJ Stroud would look a little bit better with a well-coached, with a, kind of like how Dante said, with a, or not a Saban, with a Dabo or whatever. That's just my personal opinion. Real quick, because I was lagging out during the Notre Dame game, or during the beginning of the Notre Dame. First of all, shout out to the meme material. Let me just drag that over there. Alrighty. I really.
Where you hiding?
Yeah, I really thought the camera was or the box is gonna be a bit bigger. I gotta constantly move all the graphics now. I mean, yeah, I was expecting it to be like a blowout. I was like, it'll be competitive for the first quarter, maybe the first half, and it was not. It was competitive for a good chunk of the game.
What are you saying, Gene?
I will agree with you. The one thing I agree with you, and it actually made me think. I said Ryan Day really quick, but you know what really stood out to me is Eli Ricks, and this makes sense in a minute. But he was going to go to Ohio State, and the cornerbacks in the Ohio State room basically poo-pooed it. They're like, nah, we'll just transfer out if he comes here. Like, they didn't want to compete with him. So the players might have a little bit more say in Ohio State than I might have thought originally when I said that. So that does make some sense, what you're saying. And I agree with you in a sense that maybe they lack a little sense of competition. But
I mean, I can also agree with what Vic's saying over here, talking about coming from the school of Meyer and what was the fact that he was good at micromanaging and also just recruiting. So you have all of those recruits. It's kind of easy for an Ohio State coach to be like, y'all pretty much can run the team and just kind of give the players the right push when they need to.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. This game definitely sets the tone for the rest of their season.
Yes.
Because if Notre Dame sucks, if they end up sucking, Ohio State's going to be looked at in a totally different light by the time the committee rolls around.
Yeah.
I think they shouldn't have kept this game this close, because it's going to be hard for me to justify that at the end of the season. Like, hey, y'all remember Notre Dame they only won 7 games. Let's just say they won 7 games. Notre Dame won 7 games. Can we still justify Ohio State as undefeated, if they're undefeated or a one-loss team, for them to be part of the college football playoff? I've seen stranger things happen. I don't know if that's definitely going to get brought up if they're smart. Like, we got to look at that first game. How do you think it's going to look if they come and get blown out by somebody they shouldn't?